On June 6, 1944, Europe woke up to one of the most important days in its history. As the sun rose, the continent was still under the tight control of Nazi Germany. The villages of France, the streets of Belgium, and the canals of the Netherlands were all under the shadow of occupation. People had been living in fear and uncertainty for over a year. The Allies were preparing a huge operation to free Europe, weaken Nazi power, and open the Western Front. This plan was called Operation Overlord. Thousands of soldiers, armored vehicles, planes, and artillery were ready, with every detail carefully planned. Why Normandy? Its closeness to England and its pretty open beaches gave the Allies an advantage. While some areas were heavily defended, others were less fortified, but the plan was far from simple. Mines, trenches, machine guns, and unexpected resistance meant that every step carried the risk of death. The soldiers' mental strength was being tested. Some were shaking with fear, while others faced the challenge with determination. Night exercises in camps, weapons training, ship and plane simulations, all were vital. Small details that affected thousands of lives. Commanders had to know each soldier's role, each weapon's function, and the timing of air and sea support. There was no room for mistakes. And that morning, the quiet shores of Normandy were about to witness a story that would change the fate of millions. No one yet knew that the bravery and sacrifice shown here would be written in history with golden letters. The planning for Operation Overlord had started months before. Every detail was carefully thought out. Failure meant disaster. The beaches were given code names: Utah and Omaha for American forces, Gold and Sword for the British, and Juno for the Canadians. Each beach had its own challenges: trenches, mines, naval fire, all mapped and analyzed beforehand. The weather played a super important role: wind, tides, and cloud cover. One wrong guess could put thousands of people in danger. Meteorologists gave daily reports, and commanders adjusted plans accordingly. One gust of wind, one delay, could put the whole operation at risk. Soldiers spent days doing landing practice, night drills on fake beaches, daytime exercises with heavy weapons. Each one was a rehearsal for the real fight. Some were shaking with fear, while others were determined. Soldiers supported each other, sharing hope in the middle of uncertainty. Young men felt the heavy weight of experiencing war for the first time. Commanders knew the exact role of each unit: which ship would provide artillery support, which plane would bomb enemy positions, which unit would land first. Every second was accounted for, but uncertainty remained. War could not be controlled, only planned. That night the soldiers got up from their beds. They checked their packs, weapons and ammo. Some whispered their last goodbyes to loved ones. Others prayed silently. A young American thought of his mother. A British soldier remembered his promise to his brother: "If we succeed, I'll come back to see you." Each was about to become part of their own story of bravery. Artillery units, ships and air support were ready to attack. Everything had to be perfect, because failure meant more death and a deeper occupation. The Allies were fighting not just for victory, but for the freedom of Europe. Hours before D-Day morning, thousands of paratroopers jumped from the dark sky over the English Channel. Their mission: to get behind enemy lines, secure bridges and roads, and clear a path for the troops landing on the beaches. But the night, clouds and darkness would make the operation dangerous. John Steele's story stands out. When he parachuted into Sainte-Mère-Église, his parachute got caught on the church steeple. He hung there under enemy fire, his heart pounding with every breath. But he didn't give up. His unexpected situation surprised the Germans and allowed other units to move safely into the village. Steele became a hero that night. Other paratroopers faced chaos. Some landed in the wrong places, others in water or thorny bushes. Some units fell into enemy ambushes, but every difficulty strengthened their resolve to complete their mission. Small units secured strategic bridges and roads, which were vital for the thousands of soldiers who would land on the beaches at dawn. Every success, no matter how small, contributed to the overall operation. Every loss was remembered as a sacrifice. Human stories lived among the machines and strategies. The night operation showed not only the bravery of the soldiers but also the complexity of the plan. The hours of parachutes floating in the sky, whispers, machine gun fire and explosions all highlighted the harsh reality of war. At dawn on June 6, thousands of soldiers moved towards Omaha and Utah beaches. Naval artillery and bombers hit enemy positions, but the shore was still deadly. Omaha Beach was like a river of blood. Trenches, machine guns, mines and tank barriers waited for them. Soldiers faced death as soon as they stepped into the water. Screams, explosions and machine gun fire filled the air. Some fell immediately, some were badly hurt, but others dragged them forward to keep going. Utah Beach saw less resistance, but still had hidden mines and defensive positions. American troops faced unexpected challenges and had to make quick decisions. Small units moved forward to clear enemy positions. These moments of bravery turned into strategic victories. Civilians also played an important part. French villagers secretly marked roads, provided shelters, and helped wounded soldiers. A woman offering a blanket to a soldier coming out of a trench, a child carrying water to a wounded soldier. These small acts of kindness were vital. Sea and air support were perfectly coordinated. Artillery, armored vehicles, and bombers weakened enemy defenses. Every second carried the risk of death. Individual bravery and unit teamwork were key to moving forward on the beaches. Thousands lost their lives, but thousands were saved. Every step was a heroic story. Soldiers pulled wounded comrades, moved forward under fire, and every act of bravery became part of Normandy's story, not just a battle, but a testament to human courage and sacrifice. In the weeks after D-Day, the Allies expanded their positions on the Normandy beaches. Thousands of soldiers and hundreds of vehicles moved into France. Villages and towns were captured after fierce fighting or abandoned by the enemy. This advance opened the Western Front and forced Germany to fight on two fronts. The Allies moved forward not just with smart tactics, but also with human bravery. Young soldiers carried the wounded, small units cleared enemy positions, and civilians provided escape routes and shelters. Every individual act of sacrifice contributed to the big strategy. The cost was heavy. Thousands of soldiers lost their lives, and tens of thousands were wounded. French civilians were displaced, villages were destroyed, but D-Day was a turning point in the fight for Europe's freedom. The stories of both soldiers and civilians showed that war is not just about machines and strategy, but also about the human spirit. Strategically, the Normandy landings sped up the Allies' plan to push back Germany. Facing two fronts, German forces had to split their attention between the Soviets in the east and the Allies in the west, changing the course of the war forever. D-Day shows us that history is not just about strategies and commanders. It's shaped by the bravery, sacrifice, and teamwork of ordinary people. Thousands of soldiers, civilians, and volunteers risked everything to fight for Europe's freedom. John Steele's bravery at Sainte-Mère-Église, the heroism on Omaha and Utah beaches, and the sacrifices of civilians. These are not just war stories, but symbols of the human spirit. Small individual actions can lead to huge historical changes. D-Day is more than a military victory, it's a lesson for humanity. Planning, courage, sacrifice, and teamwork all came together to write history. Knowing these stories is very important to understand the past and learn lessons for the future. Let's never forget, the events of that great day are values that the future needs to remember just as much as the past. Let's not forget.